Welcome to the Wing Chun Discussion Podcast with your hosts Dane and Vito, interviewing Wing Chun practitioners and instructors, expanding the world of Wing Chun. Welcome to the Wing Chun Discussion Podcast. I'm Vito.
And I'm Dane. And today we have Derek. He's from Toronto in Canada.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for inviting me over.
So Derek, give us a little history about you. Like, who are you and where are you from and how did you get into martial arts?
So I was born and raised in Toronto. I started martial art around 8. Typical Chinese family. I can't speak for all Chinese family, but my father would really want me to learn martial arts. So I was actually forced into it. So I was forced into learning Wing Chun. I was 8 with my brothers and cousin, and then from there we moved to Yang Tai Chi, and then after that I learned a little bit more from another Sifu when I was in high school, and then I went to my current Sifu.
So wait, okay, so you started with Wing Chun at 8 years old, and then you moved into Tai Chi, and you're still like a little kid?
The Wing Chun, I would start at 8. I would say I started around. I stayed there maybe for 3 to 4 years, and then it was actually part of my father's. Back then they had a lot of new immigrants that comes to Toronto, so that group was actually his university classmates. So They all reconnected to build supporting each other who just came to Toronto or Canada. It's a lot almost like alumni thing. And then they said, there's a Sifu here that you're also part of this university who teaches Wing Chun, so they had a group where we'll just join the class, right? And then from 3 to 4 years later, his other friends will be like, okay, this Sifu's good in Tai Chi. We will just learn from there. So that's how I transitioned from Wing Chun to Tai Chi. So
when I think about those two arts in particular, I feel like with Wing Chun, getting them to do the form is not really active. It's not a lot of movement. So I imagine it would be hard for kids, to focus on when maybe 8, 9 years old, they want to do somersaults and run around and stuff. What was that like for you as a kid?
Actually, you're quite accurate, because I always get in trouble during break time because it was hosted in a school gymnasium, and during break time I see the high school kid playing basketball, and I'll go there even though I don't know how to play basketball. I'll just sneak away, and my father will give me the dirtiest look when I come back after.
Yeah, so that's what I imagine. And the same with Tai Chi, how do you how do you get a bunch of kids to to do slow Tai Chi practice?
I think after the 3 or 4 years, you sort of feel like, oh, okay, I guess that's Chinese Kung Fu, right? So you just follow along.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that the Wing Chun that I really learned was compared to my current Sifu. It's quite different, and that's why I actually stay with my current Sifu, whereas the other one will be more, because being a kid, you're not really into what is Wing Chun or what is lineages, right? You don't really care about all these details and school lineages or techniques, right? For me, it's more like I was just forced to do it, so I'll just follow along, right?
Gotcha.
So what your current teacher is a different lineage than your first teacher? Is that a different perspective of the art for you?
For me, it's I think the first Sifu is more. I think he was just more introducing to you what is Wing Chun, even though it's 3 to 4 years. I learned all the form other than the dummy, but it wasn't as traditional. It didn't really have the complete aspect in terms of tradition. I'm talking about complete system. My current Sifu I'm from the Muyat line, so it's more structured based. It tells you really what you have to do as a beginner, how you improve your body coordination, and so forth, right? It's more like structuralized, that there is a to B type of curriculum. It's not just the form. And that's why in my recent posts, I posted the 6 pillars, and that is actually the 6 pillars, because form is only one aspect of learning the martial arts system. There's also the training aspect, there's also the application, there's also the principle and theory. So you need more than just form, because form is just teaching you biomechanics, right? Or understanding your body, what is leverage. So if you just study form, it won't be really, you're just scratching the surface of any martial art style.
Mhm. Yeah, I've always felt like the form is your tool that that you can always go back to use,
Mm-hmm.
or like your toy that you always go back to play with. It's the thing that you spend time doing just because.
Well, I see form as just more like just teaching us, like for a beginner who has nothing, who has no knowledge of martial art, like they don't know how to punch properly, they don't have proper balances, right? Or they don't even know how to align themselves. Like that's what form does. Form just creates structure, and I call it shape and power, right? You're creating a particular shape or angle to create leverage and power. That's the way it is, but you can't treat, like some people see like, oh, form is useless. Like, well, form, depending on how you're using it. But you're going to say, I'm going to use form for self-defense, and of course it's not going to work because you're missing the application, you're missing the pressure testing, right? There's no training.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's like your form is the shape that each style takes, and you practice the shape in your form, and then you go and do these other elements, and that's what makes it a complete martial art.
Correct.
So Derek, for you, you introduce the form, give them the shape, and then what? What happens next?
For me, I do the same format, even though I changed it a little bit. Like I didn't change it, I add a little bit of my perspective in how I teach it. But basically, for me, I'm basically teaching similar things that I was learning from my current Sifu, from the Muay lineage. We don't just go for just form. Some school they might just do ceiling towel, just the whole class, or for 3 months you're just doing ceiling towel, right? But for us, it's not. We call it jat seima, as in sitting on a dead horse. Meaning, if you're sitting on a dead horse, it's not mobile. So we traditionally in the Muay, like I only speak for the Muay family. We do actually more than just horse stance or jat seima, right? We don't just go and train our legs. We actually have a lot of body coordination, movement, exercises, how to activate the hip, how to activate the lower back, right? Understanding the 7 major joints, right? It's more joint mobility than muscle connection for the Muay family.
Okay, so you guys have this special focus on this joint mobility.
Well, for us, we believe that martial art, well, from my personal experience, I feel like a lot of martial art, they focus on mind and joint connection, whereas exercising will be more mind and muscle, right? You're trying to contract the muscle to build a bigger muscle, whereas martial art, you're learning how to use your joints for better leverages, range of motions, right? Different mindset, different focus.
Right.
Do you incorporate fitness into your martial arts training with your students?
Actually, I do. It's a lot of those coordination drills that I incorporate, like, are actually pure Wing Chun or pure Southern Shaolin drills. Like it's coordination, balance, right? Learning how to cooperate, left to right. All these are Recently I call it more like a mobility exercise too. It's a lot of coordination, mobility, helping you increase the range of motion.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not. I think a lot of people. I think even now in the fitness industry, they're more moving toward the mobility and functional training, and that's where I feel like martial art these days comes in, in the upper hand because it is more functional. You're training how you're supposed to be moving, right? Static training like Arnold era is it only tailors to a particular group. It can't be tailoring everyone. So even in the facility I train at, there's like athletes there who are training. They're lifting weights, but they're training in that particular movement, or they're doing something to enhance their movement for that particular sport. And
Mm-hmm.
martial art has that way before, right? Like we don't have to recreate a lot of new technique. It's just really understanding and really studying, reading old literature, seeing like how people train back then. All of them really doing functional training itself already.
Mm-hmm.
Do you incorporate any kind of other exercises that are not you typically found in kung fu, like I don't know, calisthenics or cardiovascular running, push-ups, pull-ups, like I don't know, I guess some of the things we see in Shaolin Temple, we really don't see that a lot with Wing Chun. So I'm just curious, someone with a fitness background, how that gets incorporated in.
For alignment purposes, I do use things like the push-up with the sun's fist. Why we tuck in our elbow. Like when you tuck in the elbow with the push-up, it's easier for you because it's alignment, right? I use that as more like an example rather than as a fitness training. Or why we shouldn't have our pelvis forward, like because you're going to risk yourself having a back injury, right? Even if you do the kettlebell swing, you're not really supposed to tilt your pelvis forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
The back sway. So I use like easy exercises to show examples of why we shouldn't be doing in the particular movement in Wing Chun, because I feel like once you incorporate more science-based or sports science into your system, or you teach the student have a better understanding, right? Because you're teaching them biomechanics, what the body is able to do and what the body isn't able to do. And if you're forcing the body to do something it's not supposed to be doing, then you're going to have like increased risk of injury, or you're not really going to perform that properly. You're not going to perform in the optimal way.
Yeah. I'm aware, like, I have a doctor in my family, and who says that like martial arts has the most injuries in it, out of any sport. And so, how do you see that? Have you yourself experienced, training related injuries?
Well, I guess it depends on what type of training you'll be doing. If you're going to say you're going to spar and pressure test, of course injury will happen. But
Mm-hmm.
in terms of doing the form, body coordination, actually I have a few clients who are chiropractors and clients who go through their chiro. They're like, well, what do you do lately? Your balance is a lot better. Your mobility is a lot better. And then some of them will be like, well, maybe it must be my Wing Chun training because you're doing a lot more joint activation. You're doing more mobility work. So I do see the benefit of just doing Wing Chun in that aspect. But if you're going to say for sparring or chi sao, sometimes you might get hit. It might get injury. But
Mm-hmm.
it really depends on what aspect of Wing Chun are you training.
Mm-hmm. When you say mobility, like training, I still would like to know, like, what does that look like? When I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking maybe stretching and kicking, getting things maybe looser around like those joints. What does that look like?
Well, a lot of people will think of like more like a dynamic stretch. When athletes, they don't really do static stretches, or even in exercises we don't recommend doing static stretches like stretch and hold. because you actually create weakness to the muscle when you do that before you lift weights. So
Really?
what they actually do is a dynamic stretch where maybe they extend like a crescent kick out, right, and
Mm-hmm.
in, right, or you can see them doing high knees, butt kicks, right, something that to activate the muscle, but help them increase the range of motion, but not necessarily static stretches.
Oh my gosh, I've been doing static stretches. Um, I think that's just what they taught us, in PE as a kid. So I think,
Oh, not anymore. No, they say static stretch actually, um, you actually loses strength before, like especially if you're going to do like resistant training. Then yeah, I won't recommend doing any static stretches at all.
oh wow,
Maybe
okay.
after a workout, but well, think
Mm-hmm.
of like your muscles are like elastic bands, right, or rubber bands. So if you don't warm them up, like basically when you imagine the rubber band is in the freezer and you take it out from the freezer and you just yank it, the rubber band will snap, right?
Yeah.
So you have to really like warm it up and loosen it up before you actually stretch it.
Okay. So and that would be more like doing like the high knees or like some crescent kicks just to like warm it
Yeah,
up.
well, those are
Okay.
like more like hip mobilities,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Butt kick will be more like activating just like the quads, right?
Derek,
Uh-huh.
isn't it like 3 to 5 minutes of consistent activity at a certain heart rate or something? They call like an official warm up, and then there's like studies that show all the benefits that are attributed with that. I mean, I remember reading something about that. These
Yeah,
fitness guys talking about it.
it's always good to have like warm up, right? Because a lot of people you don't want to your body really just want you to prepare yourself before you actually lift something heavy, or you just want to be more prepared. If you're not prepared, then you might injure yourself more. So it's always
Mm-hmm.
good to like do warm up, dynamic stretches. Even like that's why like when you even want to do like a bench press, for example, you want to do some 20 rep with no weight, just the motion of it, right?
Mm.
Just to prepare the mind and body to say, okay, I'm preparing for a lift, right?
Wow, that's really cool. I'm glad that I got some of that feedback from you because now I can change my routine a little bit to be a little safer.
Yeah, even for running, because some of my clients, because of the lockdown, they became more runners, and they say, Eric, I don't know why I'm always having a lot of pain in my back and my legs, or I'm like, do you warm up though? Do you do any dynamic stretches? Like, oh no. I'm like, well, that's why you can't just run out of cold muscle, right?
It's been hard to exercise and during the pandemic. Um, yeah, like for me personally, I had been going to the gym and doing my stuff there, and it was good. And then afterwards, I have to find like a lot of other ways, to do that. So yeah, it's definitely been very different. So yeah, that's some really interesting stuff about exercise. Um, so you incorporate that into your lessons, um, and we spoke a little bit about how your class goes and how your approach is to teaching a bit. What are some principles of Wing Chun that you think are really important to you?
Principle. Um, Well, for us, we more focus on structure, structure, alignment, um, positioning, angling. It's more in general, it's more like the biomechanics side of it rather than technique, because you can, if your alignment is off, or you don't, if you're not able to coordinate that properly, like technique won't really be as effective than what you think it is. Especially most common people will think that Wing Chun is just hand movement, right? But we actually do have a lot of footwork, or um, right? Foot power drive from ground up. Like people
Mm-hmm.
don't understand that. There is a kinetic chain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people will say, oh, you guys just doing hand, or the most common is the chain punching, and that's actually the wrong translation. We don't even call that in Cantonese. It's actually 切捶, pulling of the fists, as in it's a two-hand motion turning. So you're actually pulling, it's an action and a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite just locking the elbow, because there's no power into that.
I'm glad you brought up the chain punch, because I wonder if the chain punch in a way misrepresents Wing Chun to people that don't know Wing Chun.
I think that's because of the Ip Man movies. They overuse the chain punch.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been labeled.
Yeah.
That, and you can see people in social media doing that, but there's no power into that. I mean, there's hip involvement, right? There's from force coming from the heel to the knee to the hip, right, to drive in that punch. It's not if you just use hands, it's not that effective. You can punch the guy 10 times, but like the guy's still standing there. What's the point, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've seen videos of of matches and stuff where you can see that chain punch going through and connecting, but it's not actually doing damage. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I understand what you're saying, is more like the chain punch needs to have that hip and that ground connection through the foot to have power.
Yeah, and the rotation of it, the rotation
Mm-hmm.
of the body. It's not like a big rotation compared to like a boxer or a Muay Thai with their kick or roundhouse kick, but we do have hip rotation. It's just very subtle. It's just the nature of our horse stance, is because it's narrow,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's why I guess it's a little bit more harder for some people to grasp that, because it's such a narrow horse stance, and it's really hard for you to have that connection of the hip and that rotation power. It's really hard to grasp that. Whereas if you stand in a wider stance, like a karate practitioner, is easier, right? Because it's such a wide stance, it can pull, easier to pull.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Understanding that connection, and when you're moving, the hand, that the other joints need to move as well, can be foreign at first, if you haven't learned about that.
Even the chain punch actually is from, if you look at the ceiling tile form, everyone will use the form as a reference. Well, we do the chain punch at the last three, but no, that's actually just teaching you how to punch straight. It has nothing to do with punching at all, right? Because a lot of people doesn't know what is center line.
Okay. Yeah, so that chain punch in the end represents the punching, but not the way that the chain punch should look.
Yeah, it's just teaching you how to punch straight. That's it. It has nothing to punching straight and pulling the front hand to cover your face as a backup, right? So you don't get hit in the face. Basically.
Right. And can you tell me again, what did you say, like that the word for chain punching? You said it was pulling the fists?
扯拳.
Mm-hmm.
Call it 扯拳. I mean, 扯 means pull.
Uh-huh. Pulling the fists. So, I mean, when I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking like, if you had one out, you're pulling the other one back in.
See, you move. I see in the video. I can see you move a little bit of your body now.
Yeah. So yeah, because you have that, like, the one going out and the one going in at the same time, right?
Then you will create that rotation.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
That's like the push pull we see with the lap sao.
Yes, exactly like the lap sao.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly like the lap sao.
The push pull that you see with lap, yeah. And Dane, for our listeners, can you just explain that idea a little more?
Well, I mean, Derek he went into it a little bit, but it has to do with, I guess, translating the incoming energy and putting the output energy in the other direction, or on the other side, right? Like, what do they call it?
some people call it action.
Simultaneous attack block. I'm sorry.
Yeah, simultaneous. Yeah. So you can think of like the word, I guess people call it action and reaction, or there's a counterbalance, like Muay Thai when they do a roundhouse kick, I think if you throw the right hand actually pulls, right? For balancing purposes.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah. It's all styles are the same. It's just we're just different expression, right? Each style or system just express their body differently, but the physics is still there. There's physics behind all these, and actually all of them are quite similar. Or actually, I'll say all martial art physics applies. There's a universal law, right? Because physics. You can't.
Yeah.
Doesn't really
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah, that's true. It's especially noticeable in Southern Chinese martial arts. It seems like these principles, in comparison to some of the Western styles we see today.
I think the boxing, when they throw is it they call it the snapping punch or the snap punch or the shoulder snap? It's the same
Like with the
principle,
jab.
It's actually when they throw their left, they're pulling with the right.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same principle actually.
Because it's connecting with that shoulder and those hips at the same time.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that a lot of people don't really look into the science to it. Whereas for me, like, I guess back then for me, how I explained it is that because we have so much people in China and they have a lot of time to do trial and errors, right? So
yeah,
martial art is like at least 3,000 years of history, but there's a lot of trial and errors. Like sometimes I don't know why it works. It just works, right? But in modern day, you can't really explain that. You can't really use that as an answer, right? You have to add into science to it, right?
No one with the internet will accept that. They need facts and fact checks and checks for their facts checks.
Yeah. So that's how I'm also teaching these days, is adding more science to it. So, and because I'm personal training, right, I also add that personal training is also understanding biomechanics and anatomies. It helps.
Mm-hmm. And do you talk to your students about kinesiology and movement and the anatomy of the muscles and how the muscles move like levers? Is that something you talk about?
Briefly, we do talk, but like the interesting thing is when I first started to become a trainer, like actually the Wing Chun background actually helped me a lot, because I'm like, oh, this is actually Wing Chun, right? Drop your shoulders, tuck in your elbow, before you do a bicep curl. I'm like, what? Or lower your knees. I'm like, lower your knees. That's a horse stance. So the Kung Fu background, when you actually study it properly, it actually really helps, because it's just human anatomy, right?
Yeah. Which is true across the board, right? Like there's one way that is the better way, right? And if you did it another way, it would not be so good.
Well, I think Bruce Lee said it the best, right? As long as we have 2 arms and 2 legs, there's really a limited amount of movement we can recreate, or patterns that we can recreate, right? I mean, for me, how I see martial arts sometimes it's just angling or shapes, right? Some people may use triangle, some people like to use circles, right? It doesn't mean they're right or wrong. It's maybe right for them, right? But in general, like the anatomy of how the person move is still universal. Just expressed differently.
Right. And maybe that's where it comes down to the individual, right? Like what they're more adept at or what they're more comfortable with, regarding, certain styles. Like you said, like if it's triangle or if it's like circle.
Yeah, or even like some people like kicking more, or some people like grappling more. But for me,
how about just your mood that day? Some days you feel like Wing Chun, and then tomorrow you feel like Lung Ying.
Hmm.
Yeah, right. Like, it just really depends on like what you want to do, right? So it's more like style. I feel like people take it too like seriously, as it made it more like a cult, where it's more like, oh, my style can beat your style, or this style is not good, or my style is the best. But like, well, I mean, depending on what you're looking for and what you're trying to achieve, right? There's no right or wrong answer. I mean, the right or wrong answer is whether or not you're moving your body correctly.
Hmm. Would you say that, like, moving the body correctly, that would you say Wing Chun covers all those bases in within the forms and the teachings?
If you study it properly, yes, it
Hmm.
actually helps you understand your body, and it helps better understanding of the alignment. And I think that's the only one of the reasons why I choose to stay with Wing Chun. It's not that, I think that Wing Chun is the best, but I feel like it covers most of the things I need to understand. And even when I did like wrestling, did a bit of jujitsu with some of my friends who are teaching me and showing me around, I'm like, well, hey, it's actually Wing Chun, right? All these stuff for, because, you have to, drop your elbow, drop your shoulders, right? Lower your center of mass. Like horse stance, all it means is just lowering your center of gravity and widen up your base. It has nothing to do with a horse, right? It's the horse is just because Chinese culture admires the horse, because the horse eats, sleep while it's standing, right?
Hmm. Yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
So it's just the term to admire a horse's ability to stand all day, basically.
Yeah.
That sounds like a Jackie Chan movie.
What, the horse stance?
Yeah, he's doing the horse stance. I was watching Snake and Eagle Shadow
Oh,
not that long ago. If anyone remembers that one, that was one of his original movies. It's one of the best.
Oh, that's
I just
cool.
remember the Jackie Chan. I don't know. I don't remember which one. The old school martial art film will always have them with the incense behind their butt, and then they have the
Yeah.
cups that for like maybe the whole hour or two.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder, since you have this fitness aspect, how do you think about when you see those montages and like in those movies and kung fu movies where they're like carrying buckets up, stairs and like balancing water, in their hands. Are those like legit ways to train?
Um, I think carrying the bucket. I think I see like Shaolin Temple. They still do that though, where the bucket is like it's like a cone in the bottom, so you can't really drop the water bucket, or else you're going to spill the water on the floor. And they have to
Hmm.
like run with their arms out with two buckets. I'm not sure if that really is old school training, but what in terms of like if that what they use, like I'm assuming that's what they actually use. But
Hmm.
but I think if you're going to say for old school martial art training, if you look at the Okinawans when they do their strength training, because Okinawan is not used to be its own separate country. It wasn't really belong to Japan.
Hmm.
So when they actually learn Chinese martial art, because they're so close to the border, they actually follow very strictly just how they were taught. So when you look at their old school training, it's basically how I guess ancient Chinese martial artists train as well, right? Lifting up the big boulder, they use a lot of bamboos, right? Uh, I think if you look at those are, I guess, more better reference of whether or not those are legit training. Because,
I guess I'm wondering too, like, is it comparable to like modern day training that's like, safe or ineffective, right? Like would it be effective for somebody to carry buckets of water up a hill and back, like that kind of thing?
I feel like it's I guess it still applies to modern day, as long as you're able to, not have your shoulder raising up, right? I think even when you look at today's functional training, look at some of the tools, right? The battle rope is basically just like a ship rope, or now they even have the sled hammer, right?
Yeah.
Well, all the functional stuff's based around real life movements, right? Like
Yeah,
lifting an object over your head or picking up something off the ground, or
yeah,
that's all modern fitness training is starting to incorporate that stuff, I think, right?
yeah.
Hmm.
So I'm pretty sure that, I mean, that's the beauty of science, that sometimes the science can help us tell you which exercises may be safer and which exercises might be not suitable now, right? I mean, it changes. That's the beauty of science. Like even back then with all the Arnold exercises, like right now, like they said it's not even safe, right? Like I think it was the pulling the lat pull down behind your neck. They said it's not safe. But back in the golden era, they always do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah. And then that Arnold was doing that at that time probably brought a lot of attention for science to want to look at to make sure
Yeah.
that if it was effective, right?
So I think it could, if you look at that, I think it can apply to like martial art too, right? It changes. I mean, the as long as it's following human anatomy and science, I mean, it always improves. That's why in one of my posts, and I post about the proper posture of the horse stance, and people will be, "Oh, Derek, why can most people are doing the tilt of the pelvis?" I'm like, "Well, I think it's just more lack of understanding of biomechanics, right? It's just science now. If you it's you have to improve through science. I mean, I didn't really improve it too much. It's just more like the information is more valid than, like, oh, so and so mastered this, and why aren't you following that? And I'm like, well, I mean, movement, proper correction of the movement changed through time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're saying the pelvis shouldn't be tucked in for like the horse stance and for maybe some other stances?
Not for Wing Chun horse stance. No, you don't tuck in the tailbone.
Mm-hmm.
No, because
Yeah.
even think of it as a kettlebell swing, because even the kettlebell swing, that's almost like similar to that tilt, but they don't tilt it like really forward. When you have the kettlebell parallel, it is almost like you're holding in the plank position. That would be the proper plank. I mean, a proper kettlebell swing.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
the pelvis tilt actually is only for batme. It's not really for Wing Chun, as in, because batme, they pull the person toward them, and then the only way to hit them is actually having that pelvis tilt to have more ballistic movement,
Hmm.
like the kettlebell swing.
It's like
So
the shrimp back position that we practice
yeah.
in the
Yeah,
southern systems.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then the only way for you to hit is really squeezing the glutes, right? Hence the pelvis tilt.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting. Because we did learn that with Bak Mei.
Yeah, that's the what's that word
It's
called?
also in Long Ying.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
Longing do that too. Yes, the ballistic, very like any martial art style that needs ballistic techniques, or usually will do that. But that's like the end motion, right? The pelvis tilt is the end motion, not the beginning.
And when you say ballistic, can you just expound a little bit for our listeners?
Ballistic is more like a sudden burst of like force, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you when you sink the person in, then say in Bakme, the only way is really to hit them is really using the glute to squeeze and push out, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. So that explosive energy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas Wing
Cool.
Chun, we are more about footwork. We don't really have any ballistic movement. And at least in the Muyas family, I can only speak for that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what you're saying is the ballistic comes from the foot. Is like what they call, I guess, the jing, right? Or
Fat
ging.
uh, for them is 吞吐浮沉. So that's the whole movement. 吞吐 is the sinking, 浮沉 is when they burst out.
Mm-hmm. Dirk, I'd also like to know a little bit what it was like to train with the Moyat family lineage for you.
Well, my Sifu is Sifu Nelson Chan. He actually is a very close disciple of Moyat, so I'm very fortunate when I went to him. Actually, in the beginning, because I've had past experience of other Wing Chun styles and other Stifus, I'll be like, is it really legit, right? If it doesn't look, I mean, the form looks like what I was doing, but like, it looks very foreign, right? But for me, Toronto is only a few Wing Chun school, and
Mm-hmm.
for me, I felt like I just need like an environment where I have more people to train with, right? And but like when I first went there, it's more like, well, if you're going to learn, you have to learn everything from scratch. I'm like, well, that's fine, like
Mm-hmm.
so. And I'm happy that I do have that mindset because for me, like, I don't want to be when your cup is full, it's really hard to learn anything, right? So
Mm-hmm.
for me, I'm happy that I was able to meet my Sifu. So it was just an eye opener because then I really know what is traditional Kung Fu is. We're a very traditional family. How is a proper traditional school is run? How the I guess the advocacy, right? How you go into the school, what you have to do, how you greet people, right? It's very all the formality,
Mm-hmm.
and also what they actually train, like how old school train and what type of tool and equipment that you use to help you move better. It's no, it's actually from my experience, is actually it really helped, and that's why it really made me stay with the Wing Chun family, the Muyat family, because
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate that. It's like it's actually a system. It's not even like a style. Style is more like when you learn ABC and you have your signature, that's your style.
Mm-hmm.
But you need a system that knows how you teach you how to write the alphabet, right? That's the
Right.
difference. So
Right.
for me, I appreciate there's a system that teaches me the whole what is Wing Chun, what is Chinese Kung Fu is all about.
Good. Yeah. So they provided you that system that you can learn those foundations, and then you could later apply your cursive to it.
Yeah, like everyone will have their different style, right? Their own approach of it because of height difference, different personal experience, right? That will be style, right? Some people maybe prefer doing lap cells. Some people like to prefer doing chain punching. Well, I shouldn't call it chain punching, but just straight punch, right? Very aggressive. Some people are counter strikers, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean by style. They have their own personality, but in terms of learning the Wing Chun system, you shouldn't have a style. It's a system.
Right. Wow. So then, I guess let's wrap it up soon. I will ask one more question. Um, yeah, just to kind of zoom out and look at the broader world. So we have the Wing Chun system, right? We have all different styles and martial arts and other things going on with martial arts in the world. So where do you see Wing Chun's place today in the world of martial arts?
I think because of the popularity of Wing Chun expanding so quickly, um, of course there is the downside of it, and anything that is too popular also get watered down, and
Mm,
I can see that in Wing Chun, and well, especially if there's I think I have another similar conversation with one of my students. Is that like there's just too many fake sifus out there that it's representing the Wing Chun, and it's sort of like a misrepresentation of what it is, right? And I think the only way for people to better understand Wing Chun is just really showcasing more of the science of it, which is why what I've been doing is just, why we're doing this. This is why we're doing a particular movement, right? So I still think Wing Chun is still good in the modern time. It's just that people just need to have a better understanding of what is Wing Chun, and it's it just needs time to rebuild and I guess repackage and have a better understanding of Wing
Mhm.
Chun, like more like, because that's why when it brings me joy when I have students coming to me and say, hey, Sifu, like I went to my Cairo, they say my balancing is better and everything, my structure is better, my alignment is better. It has that benefit. It's just that not a lot of people are really open to take that approach, or they're just looking into the fighting aspect of it. Like, oh, can you use that in the ring, or can you use it? But like Kung Fu is only like the self-defense and fighting aspect is only a little aspect of Kung Fu, right?
Mhm.
Because Kung Fu is more than, it's a lifestyle, right? There's a lifestyle, goes down to even the food, goes down to like uh, the mindset, right? It has more to offer than just fighting. Because if you learn, there's no need for me, like a person like myself, learning Chinese Kung Fu for 20 years just to learn how to beat up someone. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying because it is its own thing. Like it does encompass fighting, combat sporting, right? It does encompass self-defense, but it is on its own and its own thing, which encompasses like you said, like the diet, like the character, and like the lifestyle of practicing martial arts, being a martial artist.
Yeah. And I think right now, Wing Chun is like the story of three blind men describing an elephant. Have you heard of that before?
Could you explain it?
So there's three blind men is asked to describe an elephant. So one blind man went to touch the trunk, one blind man touched the the ears, and one touched the foot of it, right? And then they asked them to describe what is an elephant, right? Of course, until they actually feel or see the whole elephant, they have three different stories of what an elephant will look like.
Right.
And I think Chinese Kung Fu or even Wing Chun itself, a lot of people is exactly like this three blind men where they're only touching one aspect of that particular art. And they're not really stepping back or asking the other two people, right, what is actually Wing Chun? Oh, Wing Chun actually encompasses a lot more than just a fighting art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, what's your advice to a person, who might be on the internet and finding fake sifus, and you know what I mean? Like, what would be your advice to that person who does, yeah, who does want to find, the real system that Wing Chun can offer?
Sometimes this is a hard question, right? Because like
Yeah.
really hard. For me, I would say, to always do your research, right? To see if what the person is saying really applies to you, or if it really makes sense. Like some people can say, is, well, it's based on biomechanics, but then they can't really do it, right? So, also, it's more also immersing yourself in the culture too. I know it's hard for like I guess a foreigner to like, you're telling me to learn Chinese, but like sometimes you, even for me, because I was born in Canada, my Chinese is not 100%, but it really helps by actually for me to understand what is Wing Chun, because I know that what is some translations actually misrepresented. Like the chain punch, for example, we in the earlier conversation, we're like,
Mm-hmm.
we never called it a chain punch. It's chaekun, like pulling of the fist, right? So like when you have that, it's like it really changed the mindset of, oh, what is the actual Wing Chun punch, right?
Hmm.
Or like taiguang, like raising the pelvis. We in Wing Chun we don't really call it taiguang. It's just lok ma, lowering the horse. basically lowering your center of gravity, widening up your base.
Yeah, you do have to learn those terms to understand the technique. You know? Yeah.
And even like for me, like I have to even dig into old literatures of martial art to really like dig in and see what other styles are saying, what other styles are not saying, what's the difference between the two, right? But majority of the style, I'll say the principle of lowering the shoulder, tucking the head, right? Lowering the tailbone and the elbows are all like they're universal actually. They're all styles say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So, Derek, I think we'll wrap it up here. It's been really great talking with you about and getting your perspective on the Wing Chun system and the fitness part of it and all those other parts that we spoke about today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So, if people want to learn more about you or be able to reach out to you, how can they find you?
They can reach me out on my Instagram is Derek DEREK Chan CHAN. That's my Instagram page, or they can go to my website. It's Kofung, KOFUNG.ca.
Cool.
Derek, it was a pleasure to have you, and I really like the full range approach that you take to martial arts with the fitness and all that. It's really great.
Thank you, guys. I really enjoyed talking to you guys. I can see Fido's in his face, so it's a smile. It's like, oh, it's good conversation here.
Yeah, this has been fun. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Wing Chun Discussion Podcast. Log on to wingchundiscussion.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. More episodes are available on iTunes, Google Podcasts, and Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.